What's going on, everybody? Scott Bogman here for BettingPros to give you my favorite picks for week 3 of the college football season. Just want to remind you guys, you can tail me, fade me. I was terrible last week. I was good the week before, so I'm sitting somewhere in the middle, it looks like. But the most important week is this week, every single week. And tail me. BettingPros.com/Bogman. Tail me or fade me, however you want to see it. My bets are going to be up there every single week. Let's get into it. I have 3 totals for you, and I also have 6 player props this week because I was good on the player props last week, bad on the picks. So I have picked it up on the player props for this week as we figure out more stuff about these teams moving into the college football season. So let's go ahead and start. Alabama at Wisconsin. I'm taking the under 49.5 in this one. I like Alabama, even though they lost me money last week. But let's stick with the under here, as Alabama did not find it on offense until the fourth quarter against USF. Alabama, this could be an Alabama walk, but the struggles on offense and the fact that they've only allowed 16 points through 2 games make me lean towards the under here. Tyler Van Dyke was 21 of 36, the Wisconsin quarterback, versus Western Michigan, 17 of 27 against South Dakota. So he wasn't getting it going against worse opponents than Alabama. He's still getting his feet under him. He just transferred here. The game plan should be for Wisconsin to run the ball against Alabama. They did just give up 200 plus against USF. Alabama has the players to roll Wisconsin. If Milroe finds it, then Bama might do the heavy lifting to get to this total. But if they get up quick, they should be leaning on the run game. It's a road game against a good opponent in Wisconsin. And I just think that should be the strategy. If you do get up early in this game, you're on the road, let's go ahead and run it. And while Bama did give up those rush yards last week, a lot of them were to the quarterback Brown of USF. And Van Dyke just doesn't have those kind of wheels. 122 rush attempts in his career for 49 total yards. 36 yards is the highest that he's ever had in one game. I am fading the public. The money is more towards the under in this game, but I think the way the trends are going is it's going to be unders in most games. So the way the public is betting this week, at least, because that's what we've seen early in the season. I'm going to hit you with an over now. LSU at South Carolina, over 48, one of my favorites of the week. And we may have some weather in this one. The forecast has dipped. It was a 40% chance of rain. Now it's a 30% chance of rain. It seems like it might rain before this game. We'll see. But what it comes down to in this game is LSU can't be stopped passing, and they can't stop anyone. And I think they're going to control the pace of this game, even though it's on the road. It's going to be won or lost on the line of scrimmage for sure. South Carolina is the highest graded defense so far this season. But I've said this before during the week, and maybe I haven't given South Carolina enough credit, but there were just so many mistakes from Kentucky in that last game that they played. I don't really count it as a dominant win. South Carolina looked bad against Old Dominion. So I just don't know if they're going to get it going against a good LSU offense, specifically on the offensive line. I mean, we have 2 NFL-level tackles playing for LSU and Emory Jones and Will Campbell. So Dylan Stewart's great. They're a true freshman who has been outstanding this year. I don't have a lot of faith that, and they don't blitz a lot. I don't feel like they're going to put a lot of pressure on Nussmeier, the quarterback for LSU. And LSU lost to USC, but they still put up 421 yards. USC's defense has been bad, but they shut out Utah State last week. USC did, and I'm not talking about South Carolina. I'm talking about Southern California here. Too many USCs in this one, but they only allowed fewer than 28 points 4 times last season. So it looks like maybe this USC defense is good, but LSU's offense is still really good as well. South Carolina has a strong defense in terms of roster strength, but USC is way better. Nussmeier is going to sling it against anyone, it seems, and LSU just can't stop anybody. They gave up 21 points to Nicholls State. I mean, Nicholls State, I think, put up 17 against Louisiana Tech. So the defensive issues for LSU have not been solved. I think South Carolina is good enough on offense to put up some points, and I know LSU is going to put up points. That's how I feel going into this game, so I'm going to take the over in this one. I'm going to take one more over this week. BC at Missouri over 53.5. And Missouri really hasn't been challenged yet. And BC has looked good, but they bring back so much on offense. And really, it's the fact that Luther Burden should be back after leaving with an illness in the last game. Theo Weiss, the wide receiver, and tight end Brett Norfleet are good to go as well. So I don't know that Missouri has really been at full strength yet this season, and they are going to be in this game, it seems. BC has ran down FSU and Duquesne's throat with their three-headed monster with the quarterback Castellanos and the two running backs Robichaux and Ward. We are going to get a mismatch of Missouri making it rain and forcing BC to pass in this game, though. I just think Missouri is going to put up points, and then we're going to see Thomas Castellanos make mistakes passing and trying to catch up. He had 14 interceptions last season as a starter for BC. Seems like Bill O'Brien has worked out a lot of those issues, right? But I think when you're pressed, I think he's going to make some wild throws in this game, and I think Missouri gets the ball, has some short fields, takes advantage of those mistakes, and scores some points. So Missouri may be bringing back over 80% of their returning production on offense, but the defense lost first-round pick defensive lineman Darius Robinson, linebacker Tyron Hopper, cornerbacks Enos Rexall and Chris Abram-Stram, and safety Jalen Carlos last in the draft. So they still have a lot to replace on defense. BC has been making it work, but I don't see this as really a back-and-forth game. I think BC maybe scores on the first scripted drive. I think maybe they score again in the game, but I think Missouri does the heavy lifting in this one, right? So if you don't trust BC to score because you think this is too much of a mismatch, there's a lot of that going around, then roll the Missouri over 34.5 on the team total. I think that one's an okay one to lay as well. Take advantage of an awesome offer FanDuel Sportsbook has going on right now. New customers can place a $5 bet and unlock $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can bet $5 and enjoy a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket in YouTube and YouTube TV. Just go to bettingpros.com/FanDuel to bet $5, get $200, and stream more football today only on FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, let's go into these player props that I have, and I'm going to stick to that Missouri-BC game for the first one. Thomas Castellanos over 60.5 rushing yards. He only had 8 versus Duquesne, but he had 73 versus FSU. And this guy runs the ball a lot. 60.5 is the total on an underdog. But if you want to stack this one, and I'm just picking overs here. There's so many unders to take on player props. Whatever under you want to take, I get it. But I think that you can bet these at different levels, and I like all these because of that. So 60.5, which he hit in 9 of 13 games last season in 2023, is minus 115. 70 or more is plus 140. He hit that in 7 of 13 games last year. 80 plus, now you're doubling your money. It's plus 220. That one hit in 6 games last season. 5 of 90 plus, that's plus 360. And he had 4 games over 100. And in each of those games, he went over 110. So 100 is plus 550. 110 is plus 850. So if you're looking for some long shots, I don't hate that one. Another quarterback one here, Grayson McCall, the NC State quarterback, over 239.5 passing yards versus Louisiana Tech. La Tech is 95th in defensive roster strength and 113th in the secondary. Just not a very good defense for La Tech. And Grayson McCall, he's had, in games with over 20 passing attempts, he has 30. He's hit this 239.5 total 25 times. A lot of that is playing for Coastal Carolina against a weaker schedule. But I think he can really do this against a bad La Tech team. That's a team that would have been on his schedule against Coastal Carolina, and now he's on NC State with better weapons. 240 plus is minus 115. 250 plus, now you're getting plus money. Plus 110. 275 is plus 215, so doubling up on that. And plus 425 for 300 or more yards. The only worry that I would have is they're up so much on Louisiana Tech early. If he doesn't get to that 250 quickly, maybe they pull him from the game or something if they're stomping Louisiana Tech. I don't know about that, though. If you want to pair the wide receiver, number 1 wideout for NC State, Kevin Concepcion, his total is 72.5, and I like that one as well. I just like the Grayson one a little bit more. Let's go to a running back that has had success running the ball. It's Kaleb Johnson of Iowa, over 78.5 rushing yards versus Troy. On the season, he has played the 2 games. He's 36 carries for 306 yards and 4 touchdowns, 11 and 119 yards and 2 scores versus Illinois State. And I guess it's 4 touchdowns, my bad. 25 carries, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns last week against Iowa State, who's a much better run defense. Troy is 0-2. They have given up over 200 yards rushing to Nevada, 33 rushes for 214, and Memphis 29 for 211. This line, the 78.5, I think, is just too low for Kaleb Johnson. He's going to have a huge rush in this game. I think probably one of like 30 or 40 yards. So if you want to take his longest as well, I don't hate that. 80 plus is minus 145. 90 plus is plus 105. If you're going over 100, you're plus 165. You're doubling up at 110 plus 235, and then 120 or more rushing yards is going to pay you out at plus 340. So I like those totals. Let's go with another running back here, Mario Anderson of Memphis. They are at FSU, and we've seen 2 teams run all over FSU so far. 190 they gave up to Georgia Tech and 263 to Boston College. He is a transfer, Mario Anderson, from South Carolina, and he has been their lead back. He was in some big-time SEC matchups for South Carolina last year and eclipsed his total against them. Mississippi State, Tennessee, Florida, Missouri, and Texas A&M. And A&M and Missouri and Tennessee were all really strong defenses last year. This one at 62+ pays out minus 115. If you're going 70, it's plus 130. You get plus 210 at 80, plus 320 at 90, plus 500 at 100. FSU, maybe they get it right, but they have looked terrible. And then 110 plus will pay you plus 750. So some good odds there if you're looking for a long shot. Coy Eakin, the wide receiver from Texas Tech, I'm going to go with the over 57.5 receiving yards versus North Texas. North Texas is a bad secondary. They have given up 432 yards passing to South Alabama. Then they played Stephen F. Austin the next week, who's not a very good FCS team. UNT only returns 1 starter in the secondary, and Texas Tech stud running back Taj Brooks is questionable to play. Looks like he's good to go, but North Texas can score. Texas Tech's defense is terrible. I think this is going to be a shootout. The total in this game is 69.5. It's a large total, so I really like the passing in this game. Eakin is the second wide receiver, the wide receiver 2 at Texas Tech, but I think there's going to be a lot of passing here. This one, 58 plus is minus 125. 60 is minus 110. 70 is plus 140. You can bet this all the way up to plus 120 or 120 or more will get you plus 950. If you want to go over 100, that's plus 475. So there's a lot of options for Coy Eakin on the total. And then the last one, I'm going to go back to that BC and Boston College game and go with Luther Burden. This one is more of a dart throw, but the total is 69.5 receiving yards against BC. And this is not a number you're going to get for Luther Burden very often this year. He and Tet McMillan are kind of battling it out for who is the number 1 wide receiver in the NFL draft next year. And Burden is at the top of a lot of people's boards. Hasn't looked great, hasn't hit his rhythm quite yet for Missouri. Last week, he left with an illness in the middle of the game. I think give it a week, he should be over that. And I just think this total, because BC has looked good and because Missouri Luther Burden hasn't, I think that's why we're getting a low total. And it's minus 125 at 70, plus 120 at 80. You're doubling up at 100 at plus 260, plus 370 for 110, and plus 500 for 120. So those are all of my picks for this week. Good luck in week 3. Follow me on the Twitter at Bogman Sports. And if you like NFL, I'm going to be on the Locker app. It's a really fun app for fantasy football. And what you do is you pick what's going to happen in the drive. They give you options. And this is a year-long contest for that in the Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros Discord. So if you want to check that out, I'll be doing that on Monday. We have a promo code FANTASY here, $50 match on that as well. So yeah, check me out there. I'll be doing that on the Discord, and good luck with all your bets in week 3. Take it easy, everybody.